how do you keep the same balance with your creative teams and the creative work that you are doing? How do
You're
you
not feeling well, then you can't take care of your responsibilities. So I think it's a very, very big
Has
mind
there
shift.
been any piece of work that you disliked because of the energies, or you weren't feeling it, but you still did it, or something like that? Do you have a story like that?
Oh man, I got listen.
Let's go.
And respectfully, I came from a generation in an era where people would allow their children to be bored, and boredom
Yeah,
leads to the children having a bigger
I've
imagination.
been around for a very long time in the creative industry, in the advertising industry. How have you seen it change post COVID, and how have
Humanity is being lost in algorithms and technology. Human beings no longer even think for themselves.
she stopped me mid sentence. She was like, "Okay, what have you done for yourself? You
Mm.
know, all the achievements that you have done. Everything that you have." Hi, Alex. How are you?
What's up, Syed? How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. So, how's it been going?
Oh man, everything is good. I just want to say, just for the record, I'm wearing these glasses in a way to support you because you just have
Yeah,
that light.
thank you.
So I didn't want you
That's
to
nice for
think
you.
I'm
Yeah,
wearing
thank you.
glasses.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah, means a lot. So, Alex, how would you describe yourself nowadays? Like, how would you describe Alex as in November right now before the holiday seasons?
Like, how do I describe myself, or how do I describe my feeling right now?
The feeling first, yeah.
Feeling first, I think I'm pretty tired. I think that especially before the holiday seasons, it's just been a tough year, man. I think that a lot of people have
Yeah,
experienced, it's the economy has been a little bit tough. I think for creatives like myself, just trying to hang on and push forward has just been a struggle. So, I'm going into this holiday season really looking forward to it because man, I just feel tired. I have to just say I'm exhausted at right now.
yeah, makes a lot of sense because we were actually doing the maths like last week, and we actually like we already knew that because in start of 2024 we knew it this year is gonna be not that great, but we figured out that we actually lost like 50% of our sales this year. Like we are doing 50% less. So as an e-commerce business, that's like death. But yeah, we are holding on. We are moving into new ventures, and after the election results, it's a new ray of hope. But yeah, it has been tough. It has been really tough. So yeah,
Yeah, and you know what it is the winners are always determined by the down, years. When it's a good
yeah,
year, everybody does great. Everybody makes money.
yeah,
The winners are the ones that know how to navigate when it's not going well. And
yeah,
if anything, it's a way to grow. So in the same way, right now, for example, I started taking my health a little bit more seriously. So I'm going to the gym, and
awesome.
I hit the gym a few times. Man, I feel sore. It's painful, but
Yep,
it's because change is painful, and
yep,
positive change is often extremely painful. Right? Think about,
yep,
for everybody who's ever had children. Your life gets better when you have children, but it's a struggle to begin with, right? Um, and the same thing goes with making money. The same thing goes with having successful companies. That it's going to test you. And I can't think of any
yep,
story. I can't think of any. I can't think of any one that I look up to that's just had a walk in the park. It's always a struggle. So
yep.
keep it up, man. For everybody out there who's struggling right now, definitely good times are coming.
Yeah, yeah. That's very true. Yeah. What's the most difficult aspect of being a parent that you have found so far?
I think it's about I want to say responsibility. When you have a baby, it's actually quite easy, right? I mean, you know, for the first couple of months, you'll sleep a little bit less, but I think it's that mind shift that occurs. So
Yeah,
you're now accountable and responsible for more than just you. So,
Yeah,
for example, if you drink and smoke and party and do all that, which is cool, but if you suddenly have children, if you're not feeling well, then you can't take care of your responsibilities. So I think it's a very, very big mind shift in terms of you used to be
yeah,
yourself and now it's you plus other people. And the same thing goes
yeah,
like
yeah,
if you get married, right? I mean, um, if you get married, you're now responsible and accountable for another person, you know,
yeah.
and then that list starts growing as you have more responsibility.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense as well. Because my friend, I was talking to him, like before marriage, we used to hang out a lot, and we used to be out all the times, and it was like we were never in our city. Like it was so wild that we used to go out and just to, because the perks of remote work. So, and now he has to be home by 11 because he has a kid now. So he's like, if I don't see him sleep, or if I don't, if I'm not there for him when he's having a dinner, or I need to see him. So that's his motivation, that keeps him grounded. But at the same time, it's a really good thing as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the other thing is that you have to still be yourself, right? I mean,
Yeah,
the worst thing that a human being can do is have children and then suddenly stop doing the things that make them happy, right? I mean, as long as it's within certain parameters. So, I mean, I still get to see my friends, I still get to
yeah,
hang
yeah.
out, things like that. I don't do it as much, obviously, because I just got married late last year, and
Uh-huh.
but it's just a matter of not forgetting yourself. So, I don't go
Yeah,
out as much, but I still try my best to keep those relationships strong within my
yeah,
friends group and just so I don't want to lose that connection just because I have children. You also find a lot of parents who, for example, I've heard this all the time, like, oh, I can't travel because I got kids, or I can't, you know, uh,
yeah,
they're constantly trying to be like activate their kids so their kids don't get bored. And respectfully, I came from a generation in an era where people would allow their children to be bored, and boredom
yeah,
leads to the children having a bigger imagination, the children learning to
yeah,
play. But we've become this society that just kind of always wants to activate children, give them a smartphone, put them in front of a screen. Oh, don't let them be bored. Put them in this, put them in that. This huge expectation to always have to perform. Oh, put the kid in some extra classes. The kid should have 10 languages, and I'm against all of that, me personally. So um, I just want to see
yeah,
kids
yeah,
get.
makes sense. Yeah, makes sense as well. During COVID, I got a little bit depressed, and I actually got a little bit frustrated. So I contacted a therapist, and I was telling her that I'm doing this, I've achieved so much and stuff like that. And she stopped me mid sentence. She was like, "Okay, what have you done for yourself? You
Mm,
know, all the achievements that you have done, everything that you have gotten, but what have you done for yourself?" And that was a very mind opening question, and I was like, "Damn, I never thought of it this way, that I have to do some things that make me happy." And I think that's why, because actually this happened this week, that one of my friends got married. Like he also got married last year, but he
mm,
has been struggling with a little bit of obviously the new changes. He is trying to accept the new changes that are going on in his life. So I was telling him to just don't lose yourself, and then keep doing what you do, or at least have time for yourself as well. Obviously you have now you have a wife and plus one, that's your responsibility, but don't lose track of yourself, and try to move forward with yourself. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, you're ultimately responsible for your life, right? I mean,
yeah,
I hear this all the time, including for myself. Sometimes I have to stop myself and realize, like, if I'm complaining about something, it's because every decision I've made has brought me here. So
yeah,
if I feel unfulfilled, it's because I've chosen to be unfulfilled. If I'm
yeah,
bored, it's because I've chosen to be bored. Sometimes choosing it
yeah,
consciously or subconsciously, but ultimately I'm responsible. So again, accountability is such a big word for me, and taking accountability for one's actions and where you are. But I think we all felt that. It's human nature to feel that. It's human nature
yeah,
um, to at some point in time become restless or unsatisfied, even if everything is great.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true. So I'm gonna switch gears a little bit here, and try to talk about a little bit less different things. And that is, how do you keep the same balance with your creative teams and the creative work that you are doing? How do you, introduce the life philosophy that you have with your co-workers and the other people around you? Because yeah,
Well, creativity is such a big field, and it really it drains you. I think that this is one of the things that oftentimes people forget when choosing a creative field. Coming up with a good idea is easy. Coming up with a good idea on the spot becomes more difficult, and coming up with
yeah,
10 good ideas every single day, 5 6 days a week, all year, it becomes really just hard.
yeah,
So,
it
I
trains you. Yeah,
it's draining. It's super draining. And so oftentimes I always want to tap into that bigger purpose, right? And if you are a religious person, you would try to bring it back to God. If you're not religious and don't believe, you're trying to work with energies. But what you want to
yeah,
do is constantly be remembered that, like, when I have a thought in my head, it does not exist. It has not been born. It hasn't come out into this world. So just by me speaking, I'm bringing thoughts and something into existence that wasn't there. It's actually quite magical if you
yeah,
philosophically think about it.
yeah, yeah.
So
That's true.
you and me are having this conversation. This conversation is being broadcast to
Yeah,
thousands of people around the world. We're
yeah,
creating ideas and images and thoughts and ideas and motivations and inspirations in their mind. And you
yeah.
have to be responsible for what you're doing. I used to, in the beginning of my career, just do ideas just for the sake of doing ideas, right? I stopped doing
Uh-huh.
that. So, what my philosophy is, in order to keep my energy at its active peak, is to always remember that I have to do good with my thoughts. My whatever I bring into the world has to try to do good in some way. And I find that it balances my energy. It helps me find that extra to bring to my work at all times.
Yeah, yeah, that's very profound to be very honest. So, has there been any piece of work that you disliked because of the energies, or you weren't feeling it, but you still did it, or something like that? Do you have a story like that?
Oh man, I got listen,
Let's go.
man. I'll tell it to you like this. I started within advertising, and I don't have a background in advertising. I'm a high school
Mhm,
dropout. I've never even graduated high
mhm.
school. So for me to be uneducated and to have achieved what I've achieved until now has been no short of a miracle for me.
Yeah,
And along that path, I've had to make sacrifices that were very painful to make. And without going into like exact examples,
yeah,
I'm trying to think of an example, but I mean, it could be anything. There was brands I didn't want to work with. There was people I didn't
yeah,
want to.
yeah.
There was money I didn't want to take from investors that I ended up having to take you know, because I had
I
to.
understand. Yeah,
When you have a company and you're accountable for people, I had this ad
yeah,
agency called Gorilla. At some point we're like 10, 12 people in the office, and people have to get paid. The first of the month is coming. People have children to feed,
yeah,
and
yeah,
we might not have the pipeline. We don't have the clients, but I still got to make that sale. So then what ends up
yeah,
occurring is that, oh, I'll sink the prices. I'll say yes to working
yeah,
with a client who I know is going to be a bad fit.
yeah,
I'm going to
yeah,
do it just because. So I'm not going to mention the exact client, but there was one
yeah.
particular.
I understand.
They were an NGO, and I knew from the first couple of meetings that they weren't a good match. I knew that they were going to be problematic. I knew that I was going to have issues with them, but they came with a check in a time where we needed to get money in the company, and so unfortunately I had to say yes. And like, I have a very strong intuition, and I very much believe in my gut feeling. I think it's a superpower that human beings have, and every
Yeah,
single time I've had a bad feeling, every single time it ends up becoming
yeah,
true. And
yeah.
so you make sacrifices.
Yeah, I understand. So, Alex, you mentioned that you think that it was nothing sort of a miracle that you got where you got after being a high school dropout. But I do want to ask you this, and that was there any teacher or anyone in your childhood who looked at you and said you are gonna you are going places and you didn't believe it at first? Yeah. So
Yeah.
my question is, how did that person know? Like that, there were a couple of people who told me like you are going places and stuff like that, and I was like, no way, because at that time I was a mess. Like I wouldn't believe me. Like even if I said that, I wouldn't believe me. So yeah,
I'll never
who was
forget.
it and how did they? Yeah.
I, I'll never forget. It was my eighth grade English teacher, who was also the principal of the school that I was going to, and I still am in touch with him today. And
Awesome.
his name is Mr. Rob. That's what we call him, Mr. Rob. And Mr. Rob, um, he's originally Canadian, and
Mhm.
really good looking guy. He kind of looks like Tom Cruise, if you can imagine.
Oh,
Uh,
awesome. Yeah.
and Mr. Rob was incredibly passionate about writing. He was my English teacher, and he was introducing me to writing when I was just getting into it and just learning writing. And I'll never forget that Mr. Rob looked at one of my, I don't know, I was a poor student. I've always been very, very bad at school. But he took me aside one day and he was like, Alex, I just want to let you know, I was looking at your creative writing, and you really have a talent for this. Like, you're a really talented writer. And if you
Yeah.
took it seriously, this is something you can become great at. And I really looked up to Mr. Rob, and I still do. He's a phenomenal human being. And a lot of us students who were raised under him ended up, having great careers. And I think it was through his empathy and through his caring, um, that it gave me that boost of self esteem to really take my
Yeah.
writing seriously. And this was a time, like, when I was a kid, I was like 14, maybe 15 years old at that time. I'm living with my dad. My dad is a drug addict. We're having a tough time at home, and to have a male role model like Mr. Rob tell me that I
Yeah.
was good at something, when my own father, never told me that I was good at anything, was just
Yeah.
it was such a profound impact. And I told him this years ago. I had a lunch with Mr. Rob, and I told him, I was like, I would have never been able to have done what I did if it wasn't for you. And he was humbled by it, but a role of a teacher or a role model, it can be a profound impact on a young person's life.
True.
Profound.
Yeah. That's very true. Why is it always the literature, man? Why is it always the literature teachers? Because there are teachers, I had teachers who were, chemistry graduates, or who were PhD in other stuff, but they didn't have any profound effect. But for me as well, there was this one English teacher, and he was phenomenal. Like he helped me out, and he was very empathetic as well. So that he was, I remember him. Like I still remember him, and I pray for him as well. So yeah, that's like, how is it that literature teachers are so good, and then the others are, some of them are just very dry. That's what I would say. I won't badmouth my teachers, but yeah, some of them were dry.
You know what it is because mathematics is a language, right? Mathematics
Uh-huh.
has ultimate truth. So
Yeah.
when you're teaching math, you're teaching a language. You're teaching something that can't be bent. There's an
Yeah.
ultimate truth. So if you're, I'm sure that somewhere somebody who's a mathematician or someone who's a scientist or a researcher, their science teacher was the one that told them, "Hey, you were really good at this," or their math teacher
Uh-huh.
gave them encouragement. So I think if you're naturally gifted at something, I was naturally a gifted writer. So obviously, my teachers who were writers they could
Mhm.
spot that, they could see that and give me encouragement, whereas I'm terrible at math. So my math teachers would have been more disappointed in me than anything. um,
Yep.
I think that it has to also do with the fact that literature and writing is, technically speaking, you can obviously talk stylistically, but there is no right or
Yeah.
wrong. I can write something
Yeah.
that you might not like, but it doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily mean that it's wrong.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
so I think it's just a much more open genre, um,
Yeah.
interpretation, and so I think that might have something to do with it. Whereas mathematics is just like, okay, show me your method, uh, and let's talk about the rules, and is the answer
Yeah.
correct or incorrect? It's black or white, but
Yeah.
it doesn't exist in writing.
Yeah, yeah, that makes a lot of sense as well. So, Alex, what like you have been around for a very long time in the creative industry in the advertising industry. How have you seen it changed post COVID, and how do you feel like where it's going right now? Like, what's the next steps?
Well, I mean, I've been in the industry. I've been in advertising now for more, for maybe like 12, 13 years. I've been a writer for longer. I've been a writer for
Yeah.
almost my life. I was in the music industry before going into advertising, and
Awesome.
I don't necessarily like the direction that things are going in some ways, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
obviously AI has taken over. AI has made people like myself 1,000 times better and more productive
Uh-huh.
because I'm already a really great writer, and now I'm powered like a superhuman mind with AI, so my
Yeah.
output is crazy.
Yeah.
And then it's taken weak copywriters, like copywriters that aren't necessarily super good, and it's made them lazy, which means that they're never going to
Yeah.
achieve, they're never going to become great. They're always going to be
Yeah.
subpar copywriters who know how to prompt. Um,
Yeah.
the same thing could be said about anything. Creative industry, bro, is always going to remain because ultimately, and somebody said this to me, I don't know who, maybe it was a quote on the internet, but it's the problem with artificial intelligence is that it doesn't know how to play off key. See, sometimes the
Yeah.
answer to a creative brief is not obvious. Sometimes it's
Yeah.
actually quite incorrect. And if I look at some of my biggest accomplishments within advertising, it wasn't anything that anyone believed in, nor was it even something that a person should do, but I did it.
Uh-huh.
So I think that the industry is changing. Uh,
Yeah.
there's a decline in jobs. The good copywriters are now excellent copywriters. The great
Yeah.
copywriters are becoming superhuman. And if you're a normal copywriter, it's time to pack your bags because the industry is going to be closed. If you're a
Yeah.
shit writer, then do something else because
Yeah.
the it's over. All that shit is over. Everything that we've been taught in terms of right or wrong, there's a lot of agendas that have been pushed, um, and that have been promoted over the last 10 years. All of that is being broken down now. You can't do all that anymore, and
Yeah.
I want to see more people also fundamentally learn and understand strategy because I think that was one of the things that I was very good at. Right, I understand brands, I understand strategy, I understand social media. That's why I can do copy. That's why I can come up with a creative idea that will work. But how many
Yeah.
creatives have I been in meetings with? I'll ask them, okay, what's the insight to this particular idea? They'll come with a great idea, but what's the insight?
Yeah. Yeah.
Crickets,
Yeah.
nothing. Nobody can share anything of any. Um, no one can share an insight that's fascinating. No one's even talked to customers. You know,
Yeah. Oh, that makes a lot of sense as well. So, Alex, I'm gonna touch a little bit on the thing that you just said that you used to be in the music industry before you moved into advertising. So, how was that shift for you?
I mean, it was a transition. It took some years, to be fair. It wasn't from one day to the next. The first thing that happened was that I had a baby. I was 24, and I had my daughter.
Mm.
And I was like, okay,
Awesome.
I gotta get my life together. I can't be doing this music anymore. Not because it didn't pay; it was okay. I could make a living, but I wanted something more for my family and for my daughter ultimately. So I
Mm.
ended up asking myself, what skill did I learn from music that I could move? And that was social media, right? Because we were creating brands on MySpace, music brands on MySpace, and then
Awesome.
and then this little thing called Facebook was becoming popular, so we could just make that quick transition. So I transitioned
Yeah.
actually from music to social media and did that for around a year and a half until I figured out that my ideas that I was making for social media campaigns, they were the ones that these companies were using as their advertising campaigns. So
Uh-huh.
being
Yeah.
that my clients, I found out that an advertising agency hired my agency that I was working at the time, and they just took all my ideas. They got millions.
Oh.
I got nothing. You know, I got a salary, and I was sitting there wondering, like, oh,
Mm.
why didn't I make more money? My boss tells me, yo,
Mm.
you have to understand that if you want to make money, it's not going to be as a social media manager coming up with ideas. You have to become an ad man, and then
Yeah.
this is history. So I damn near quit. You know, I damn near quit social media that same day,
Oh.
and had my focus on creating advertising and bigger digital campaigns.
So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And that was going to be my next question, that has anyone plagiarized your content? And you answered it yourself that, it hasn't. But after, like, what I've noticed is that audience has gotten a lot faster. Fast. I don't know if faster is the word I should use, but after COVID, people have been consuming so much content now that everything is redundant now. Like anything I come up with, or anything I think of, or any ad campaign that I think of, it has already been done. So yeah, that's where I am at. Like, what do you think about that, and how do you tackle that? Because after COVID, a lot of people, because people have consumed so much, like they have been consuming, content up, down, left, right, after especially the reels. So yeah,
I mean, just a quick clarification: that company paid me for the work. It wasn't that they plagiarized.
yeah, yeah, I understand. Yeah, yeah, I understand. Yeah,
Until now, I've only had two of my ideas ever get stolen, so I'm pretty lucky. In terms of what you're talking about, we've become a sick society. You know, our society is sick. This is the problem. We've become mindless zombies. The average person uses hours, and it's not just 1 hour, 2 hours. They're using 4 to 6 hours a day on
yeah,
consuming content in fast form. You can't get people to sit down and watch a movie, let alone an
yeah, yeah,
episode. I can't get people to watch a 3 minute video. You know,
yeah.
we've become a society that just wants instant gratification, and we're expecting a payoff as fast as possible. This is a huge problem. Attention deficit disorder in children and adults has skyrocketed, and
Yeah.
I don't really have a workaround because in
Yeah,
reality, I'm a part of the problem. I'm looking at numbers and adjusting my advertising and my campaigns accordingly.
yeah, makes
First
sense.
really big campaign was almost 4 minutes long, right? That was in
Yeah,
2017. It was almost a
yeah,
4 minute long video. That would never work today. It would never work
yeah,
today.
yeah,
And I think that's sad. It's really, really sad. And what I would just suggest to everybody who's listening is start detoxing your mind from these applications. TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, and every company, LinkedIn has their shorts coming up.
yeah.
Throw all that shit away and start getting back to actually just detoxing your mind from short form content. Actually, I would just tell people if they can, I would suggest that you significantly cut back the use of all applications because it's going to
Makes
make you
sense. Yeah,
better creative. And if I have to be honest, I think it's going to make you into a better human being. Humanity humanity is being lost in algorithms and technology. Human beings no longer even think for themselves, and this is a byproduct. And I would like to think, I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but I like to think that it wasn't, but I'm not convinced. I think this is by design. And for those people who have who read, there's a book by the name of Brave New World, and there's another book by the name of 1984. They came out at the same time. 1984, that's George Orwell, had this vision of governments controlling human beings by force, whereas Brave New World,
Mhm.
written by Alex Huxley, he had a different take. He said that governments will control people with consumption, making them happy, having
Yeah, yeah, makes
sexual
sense.
relations, hypersexualization of society, and basically just making it so we don't think anymore. And this is exactly what's happened. So honestly, this is something that everybody should take extremely seriously. And if you're one of the few who's listening to this podcast, and I hope that as many people in the world listen to it as possible, I would strongly suggest that you take your brain health, your mental health, your spiritual health seriously. This is not
Yeah.
good. These apps are not good.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense as well. And that's what, I was thinking about that, we have lost kind of the way I personally see it is that we have lost as a society. Like, there used to be a bond between people and, stuff like that. And that bond is now very, how shallow. Yeah. Now we are more shallow than ever. And that's what I was thinking about, that if we are getting so shallow, that how come like nobody is feeling this, like nobody wants a deeper connection with people. Like, this is what I have been thinking about for the past few days, that though, because everything is so shallow. Like, how do you see it? Like, because the way I see it is, I think people are yearning for deeper connections and deeper things, but they don't understand and they don't know how to get there. that's
Yeah,
that's what my thesis is.
they did tests. They found out that children no longer look at adults in the eye because they're losing that connection. Human beings stopped being, they stopped connecting with each other. We're more alone than we've ever been. We
Yeah,
have lost the war to consumption. You can look at how many people just consume content, consume products. Look at what we're doing to each other. Look at what we're doing to the world. Look at how we treat our parents. Look at how we treat our siblings and our communities, our friends. Um, and again, I'm I don't know. I don't have the answer, bro. I don't got the answer. What
yeah,
all I can say is that just be aware of it and try to do better. Try to teach your kids. Take that time out to try to have that human connection. But there's suffering all around the world, and we don't care anymore because it's becoming a
yeah,
mass consumed entertainment thing. I'm scrolling my Instagram. What am I seeing? A war here, dead baby, dead human beings, bodies piled up. Oh, cooking video, dead baby, a fashion brand video, dead baby. To the point where now it's like you get some news like, oh, there's been 12 kids killed in Gaza. Oh, there's been 40 Russians killed in some bombing. Nobody cares. Like, you just, it was just 12 people, not
yeah,
understanding that means, oh, there's a famine somewhere, there was a flood somewhere in the world. Oh, only 100 people died. What do you mean only 100 people died? We've lost our humanity, and this is, I can't say it enough. This is by design. I don't believe that this is just happening out of coincidence. We've desensitized. Have you seen video games? Have you seen what they do with video games to these kids? Normalizing war, normalizing rape, normalizing mass killing, normalizing stealing, and crime and degenerate behavior. And that's just in the video games the children consume, let alone
yeah,
go and look at what these cartoons these kids are watching, and look at the
yeah,
stuff that
yeah,
you're watching, right? I mean, if you realistically take a step back and with wide eyes, look at the feed, look at what you're getting. You're
yeah,
seeing food videos, gluttony. You're seeing all kinds of these are deadly sins that we're falling into if you believe. But if you're non-believer, that's cool too. Why on earth, if you're not hungry, are you sitting there looking at food videos for hours a day and looking at
yeah,
recipe videos? If you're broke,
Yeah,
why are you getting travel videos of luxury items and cars? You know, people are more likely, if a person who's poor is more likely to spend money on a luxury product than a person who's rich. You don't
yeah,
see you don't see the
yeah.
problem with that?
That's yeah, yeah. That makes so much sense. Yeah, yeah. So, Alex, basically, your podcast time is almost up. So, I would like what is the advice that you would give to the new people who are coming in your field? Who are aspiring to become like you, or people who are aspiring to come into the field. And then you have some tips for the people who have kids to how to manage that situation that we were talking about.
All right, if you're a young creative and you want to get into the creative field, what would I say? I would say that there's space for brilliant people in any industry,
Yeah,
regardless. More important than brilliance is discipline. I would rather 100 times rather work with somebody who's not super talented naturally but be disciplined than to work with
yeah,
somebody who's extremely talented but not disciplined at all. So I would
yeah.
say
Makes sense.
we need more people in every industry who are both disciplined, willing to do the work, and who are passionate about what they do. So if you're in any industry and you're looking to come into, especially the creative industry, you should be passionate and be disciplined. And if
Awesome.
if you got kids, then remember life is short as well. Take time to be with your children. Take time to raise those children. All the money in the world, I don't care how successful you are, is ever going to make you as happy as your children are going to make you. Everybody who I've ever met personally who was extremely wealthy have all had huge regrets about the time that they used building that wealth and the time that they lost together with their families. No one on their deathbed ever sat there and thought they needed to make more money. This I can promise you. Um, so keep a perspective, do what you are passionate about, and whatever you are passionate about, make sure that you have the discipline to actually back it up because passion
Yeah,
with discipline is a hobby and it's not a
yeah.
career. And life is short.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much, Alex, for coming on the podcast. Really,
Not
really enjoyed the talk. It went very deep, and I really enjoyed it. And it was really good, hearing your perspective as well. So, yeah, thank you so much.
thank you
Really
so much,
means a lot.
Ryan. I just wanted to let anybody know who's listening to this. Connect with me on LinkedIn. It's Alex Sabour. I'm not on any other social media. I stay away from everything. But connect with me. Let me know, that you heard it. Let me know what you think. And I hope to be back at some point. So I just reach out. We in Copenhagen.
Sure,
Uh,
sure.
goodtape.io for everybody who is looking for a transcription audio tool. That's what I work on day to day. And gorillaagency.dk for everybody who's interested to check out my portfolio of work and connect with me.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much, buddy. I appreciate it.